Hi, so I totally forgot that I changed our time to an hour earlier today. So luckily I just happened to look at the clock and went, oh, here I am. So I am not completely prepared, but I said I wanted to talk about protein today. I have my notes with me. I may be referring to my notes. So protein is such a controversial topic, and it's something that I really thought was really important. People, the first question most of us get is, where do you get your protein? I do not call myself vegan, because I do still use honey. I even have my own bees. I know for those of you who are vegan, you don't like that at all. I haven't gone through like my clothes and shoes and belts and things. I probably have leather in my home. But I do eat a whole food plant-based diet, without any animal products except for the honey. And I don't eat processed foods and things like that. So people are always like so worried about my protein. It's hilarious because back in the day, well, whoever's telling me that, they're okay having Krispy Kreme for breakfast and Chick-fil-A for lunch and pizza for dinner. They don't think about their protein there. How is that giving you enough protein? But they're worried about me with all of my beautiful dishes. So it's very interesting. Anyway, so why is protein such a big concern? So um, early 1900s, we had a lot of things coming out about sanitation, dirty conditions. Factories were dirty, lots of foodborne illnesses, lots of illnesses due to infections and things like that. And so there was like this movement towards cleaning sanitary conditions and things like that. And that's when they started all of these food acts, to help with how factories are monitored, how food processing places are monitored, and then their laws and things like that got into place. Then we go into the Depression and we start thinking about nutrition, lots of malnourished children. How can we get children to put on some weight? And they started looking at protein. And so when you feed animals, like rats, a lot of protein, they gain weight really quickly, they produce fur really quickly. And so they really started pushing protein for children, especially malnourished children. And so that was their biggest concern, was the protein. So they started feeding these children protein, and they started gaining weight, protein in the forms of meat. And so then meat really became known. That's the answer that helps us with our nutrients. And then different acts came on board to start promoting subsidies. And so meat and dairy started to be subsidized. And so what that means is these farms, they are guaranteed a certain price for what they produce. And if there's too much supply, they are paid to destroy. They are paid to not plant anything, to have these open fields. And so it's supposed to be an answer to help with people who are not getting the foods and the nutrition they need. However, they're being paid not to farm and to destroy products and things if the supply is too high. So that we definitely need a reform as far as subsidies go. And some countries, New Zealand and Australia, have both worked on changing their subsidies to help with fruits and vegetables. And guess what? Those populations have improved their health. So what does that have to do with our protein? They're really pushing here in the US, we have a huge ag boards for meat and dairy. And so it really just helps to keep the prices low, which is great for people who want to buy those items, because if they weren't subsidized, they would be very, very expensive. Meat would be like $30 a pound. And so we don't want that for people who want to eat those products. So all of these studies were based on how quickly rats could grow on protein and how quickly pigs could grow on protein. Well, rats need different types of protein than humans, and pigs eat raw grains and raw beans that humans can't digest. And so when we compare humans and their needs for protein to rats and pigs, we're not really looking at a good picture. What we do know is we do need protein. Protein is very, very, very important. We need protein for our skin, hair, nails, and teeth. We need protein for all of our DNA. It's in every single cell of our body. And protein is considered a macronutrient. Macro meaning big. We need a lot of protein. We have three macronutrients: protein, carbohydrates, and fat. We need a lot of all of those. They need to be a good percentage. Then we need our micronutrients. Those are our vitamins and our minerals and other phytonutrients that maybe we don't know as much about, but we do need a lot of protein. Protein helps us to carry items throughout the body. Without certain proteins, we don't get like iron into the cells. So protein is our carriers. They're also make up the enzymes that help the hundreds of chemical reactions in our body. We didn't have those proteins, our body couldn't function the way it needs to. And we wouldn't have, strong skin, hair, and nails, and we wouldn't have all sorts of other things. We wouldn't have these wonderful reactions going on. So we do need protein. It's very, very important. But we actually we need the protein. We need to create the proteins. Our body makes protein. We make proteins in our liver, but we have to take in protein too. So there are 9 essential amino acids that we have to get from our diet. Everybody has to eat these 9 essential amino acids. They don't have to come combined with anything. That's also something else that is false. When I took graduate level nutrition classes when I got my master's in health science, and we learned that you had to food combine, that eating vegan was really difficult because you had to combine a bean and a grain at every meal to get your essential amino acids. And that is definitely not the truth. Yes, we do need all of the nutrients, but we don't have to combine them at one meal. We recycle our nutrients. And so you may have heard this explanation before, but I'm going to say it again. So when we eat something with protein, you eat a steak, you eat chicken, you eat fish, I eat greens, I eat beans, whatever. It doesn't matter what I'm eating. There's protein in these foods. All plant foods have protein, all plant foods, even our fruits have protein. They all have proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. So whatever you're eating, you eat it. And so let's picture like a Lego car. So you're eating this Lego car. All those little blocks, those are the amino acids. They start to get broken down as we chew. We're chewing. The enzymes in our mouth help us to break down the carbohydrates and the fats. The protein moves on to our stomach. In our stomach, we have hydrochloric acid and we have pepsin, which is an enzyme made from protein. And those react to help break those protein bonds down into amino acids and peptides. And so that passes into our small intestine, where more enzymes help us break it down even further. And then those amino acids, those little individual Lego blocks are passed into our bloodstream and into our liver. And then the liver says, okay, I need you to go, all the red, go over here. All the green, go over here. Some yellows, go over here. I need 2 whites, let's go over here. And so your liver is managing where these things are needed and where they need to go. So it doesn't matter where those amino acids came from. It doesn't matter if it came from meat. It doesn't matter if it came from plant. And they're all broken down to the amino acids. They go and they make something, or if something's missing, they can't make it, they take it all back apart, and the amino acids, those little blocks, go back to the liver and they are sent somewhere else. But they go wherever they need to go, and they get broken down and recycled, and we use them again. So we do have to take some in every single day. We do end up losing some do get destroyed, but we recycle a lot of them. So that's why we don't have to food combine. We don't have to worry about having, I could go all day today without having any grains and eat some beans and greens and still get all of my amino acids. I don't have to combine all of my foods, and I don't have to have them all every single day because they're going to recycle. So that it doesn't matter. So another concern that people have is, are you getting enough protein? We have to get enough protein. You need a lot of protein. And the truth is, we don't need a lot of protein. We need between 15 and 20% of our diet should be protein, not a lot. If we have too much protein, that can create an acidic environment. Our body creates acid as it's breaking down those bonds to create the, to get the amino acids. And all that extra acid has to be processed through our kidneys. And that can cause a lot of damage to the kidneys. It adds stress to the body. When we add stress, we have inflammation. Then that causes cortisol to build up. That causes issues with our heart. So we don't want to eat too much protein. So many people are pumping up all the extra whey protein. Bodybuilders just eat more and more whey protein. Well, when we eat too many calories in protein, it's stored as fat. And so if you're trying to build muscle, you don't want to build fat. You may be wanting to bulk up and gain some weight and then shred it. I know how that works. But I just want you to know that you're creating more fat. So sometimes it looks like people are putting on muscle, but they're gaining fat that's going to then need to be shredded off. But it's also creating, if it's too much, if you're eating that more, if you're eating more than 20% of animal protein in your diet, 20% of your diet, then that is causing a lot of stress on the kidneys. And then that is going to cause some stress on the heart as well. Now with the plant-based proteins, they're already kind of broken apart. We're skipping the middleman. Where did that, if you're eating steak, where did that cow get the protein? That cow got the protein from the grass, hopefully. Most are grain fed in the feedlot. So even if you're buying grass-fed meat, they are not grass-fed right before they're killed. They're fattened up really quickly on grains. So pay attention to where they are fed if that is something that is a concern for you. Anyway, they're fattened up on the grains. But my point is, they're not eating animal flesh to put on the protein that you eat. So when we eat vegetables and fruits, we're just skipping that middle, I say middleman, it's not a man. We're skipping that middle thing in the middle. We're going straight to the vegetables. Gorillas, they do eat some bugs, but they would have to eat an awful lot of bugs. They eat lots of fruit. If you've ever seen bears, they love to eat fruit. And so that's what we're doing when we're skipping those animal products. And it's actually much healthier on the body. It doesn't create as much acid as we're breaking things down. So how much protein do you need? Well, it depends on where you are, your stage of life. It depends on your activities throughout the day, your health and things like that. So children need more protein percentage wise, elderly need more. Some cancer patients may need more. Sometimes people with autoimmune disease may need more. Vegans do need more than omnivores because it's not absorbed quite as easily. Now that makes people say, oh, then we should eat it. Well, no, we just need 10% more, which is actually, instead of 0.8 grams per kilogram, 0.9 grams per kilogram. It's not that much more. And if you're eating beans, nuts, and seeds, then you're getting it. You don't need to even calculate it. You're getting enough. So especially if you eat a couple of servings of beans a day, then you're getting what you need. And greens are very, very high percentage wise in protein, but you would have to eat an awful lot of greens to meet your protein, total protein needs for the day, which is why a lot of people juice. Green smoothies, green juices, and things like that help you get more protein. And the reason why you need a little bit more is because of the fiber, which if you're eating a lot of animal products, you're not getting the fiber, and you definitely need the fiber. You need fiber for a healthy gut. I need to talk about protein absorption, right? So when we have a lot of fiber in our diet, which we get from fruits and vegetables, which is wonderful for the microbiome, wonderful for bulking things up, wonderful for helping you with your bathroom habits. That fiber does bind to proteins, and so it also binds to fats. And so when we have a very high protein diet, that can pull some of the protein out, and you just pass right through it and you don't absorb it. So that's why if you eat a high fiber diet, a lot of vegans do need a little bit more protein, but it's not a lot more. It's just a little bit more protein just to make sure they're absorbing. Now, there are a couple of things that can prevent you from getting enough as far as absorption goes. You might be putting enough in, but you're not absorbing it so that you can use it. So I did have someone in here, I apologize, I don't remember who it was. I only saw one question, and I'll check again in a minute, but said, I'm worried I'm not getting enough protein because have got hair loss. Well, it may not be that you're not taking in enough protein. It may be that you're not absorbing the protein, but there are a lot of other things that are related to hair loss as well. You can see I have a very large forehead, and I'm missing the outer third of my eyebrows. Those are classic signs of thyroid imbalance. And so I lost all of these back in 2013 before I had my radiation. I also lost a lot of hair up here. And so I have this large forehead. And so my hair loss is related to thyroid imbalance. I've been trying to grow it back for years and years and years. And even though I don't have the antibodies or anything anymore, it just won't grow back. And people look at me and I probably have scraggly eyebrows. It's just, I want them to grow back. Anyway, that is me going off on a tangent. So you may be getting enough protein, but not absorbing what you need. If you have low stomach acid, now remember what I said, when we eat our food, the enzymes in our mouth and our chewing action help to break things down. Now, protein is the enzymes in the mouth don't break down the proteins. They start to break down carbohydrates. We have amylase enzymes in here that help with carbohydrates. Then we swallow everything, goes into the stomach. The hydrochloric acid and the pepsin break down the protein into amino acids and peptides. And the carbohydrates and the fats, they don't really break down too much in there. And then things are passed on. Well, if I didn't chew well enough in my mouth, I don't have teeth in my stomach, it's not going to break it down as well, which leads to gas and bloating and burping and things like that. But it's going to pass on through. It's going to be too bulky. Even the enzymes that keep going on and acting on it, the bacteria in my gut, they are just not going to be able to break it down any further for me to absorb those nutrients. So we have to make sure that we chew really well. Chew. Break it down as much as you can. Dr. Christopher said to drink your food. And so we want to chew until we're drinking it. So it's broken down as much as it can. Then when it gets into the stomach, it's broken down better so that we absorb. The next thing that could be a problem is if you have low stomach acid. If you have, a lot of people think they have high stomach acid, but there's actually very, very similar symptoms. I have another video. You can go back and look. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about stomach acid. So a lot of people, when they're burping and belching, it's actually because we need more stomach acid or we're eating too much protein to break things down. And so we need to break it down even further. We need to increase the hydrochloric acid. So things that can help with that are taking bitters before a meal. I did a video Wednesday. You can check my Wednesday video on how to make your own bitters, but you can buy some. I like the product from Herb Farm. I'm not an affiliate. I just like their product. Or just chewing on something bitter, some bitter greens before you eat helps to all the enzymes to start to be excreted, prepares your body for absorption. So those things can help. When the food hits the stomach, you have some more enzymes, and you can even purchase some supplements that are digestive enzymes. This medical disclaimer, I am not telling you to buy any supplements. I'm not telling you to take digestive enzymes. It's just something that you should study if you're concerned and discuss with your medical provider. Anyway, that can help as well. Another thing that can hurt is if you have stomach conditions. If you have IBS or IBD, maybe you you have a very fast transit time. You know, when you eat something, it's coming right out the other end. It's not slow enough for you to absorb your nutrients and it's passing on through. Or maybe you have a damaged intestinal lining. If you have had a diagnosis of cancer or autoimmune disease, you most likely have an absorbed intestinal lining, and it's very difficult for you to absorb your nutrients as well. So what is the answer? The answer is not to take more protein or protein powder and just keep taking more. You may be taking in enough, you're just not absorbing. You have to work on why you're not absorbing. So we need to make sure that we are chewing slowly. Something else that can interfere is stress. If you're eating in a stressed state, remember from one of my other videos, when we're stressed, the body thinks we're in danger. It's not time to eat and digest. So that is when our stomach acid slows down, our enzymes slow down, the motility in our gut slows down, which leads to constipation. So then we're not breaking things down, we're not absorbing, and we're not even eliminating. We're getting all stopped up and backed up. So we have to make sure that we take time to slowly eat our meal, chew well in a relaxed state so that the food starts to get broken down. Take some bitters, chew on a leaf before you eat to increase the stomach acid. Work on healing your leaky gut. I'll have to do another episode on that, but that's a very complicated process. And work on blood sugar balancing. If your blood sugar is out of balance, that leads to stress, that leads to cortisol, that slows down the stomach acid, the enzymes, digestion. It's a bad cycle there. So keys, blood sugar balance is number one. You have to get your blood sugar under control. If you have not had your hemoglobin A1C checked, ask your doctor to check your hemoglobin A1C. Even if they say your fasting glucose looks fine, your fasting glucose can change minute by minute, day by day. You need to get a hemoglobin A1C to get a better picture of how well you are balanced, how well you are handling blood sugar. Number one, get your blood sugar in balance. Number two, make sure your intestines are smooth. running smoothly, absorbing nutrients. Make sure you've optimized your stomach acids, and look at the quality of your protein. So let me check and see. My phone is kind of blocking my view of Facebook to see if there are any questions. I am not seeing any. Just to double check here really quick. I see myself. And the only question I had, wow, that was a lot of hair loss. I wonder if I'm getting enough protein. So it could be the protein. Like I said, it could be your stomach acid. It could be your enzymes. It could be your transit time. It could be your intestines, and it could even be autoimmune related or hormone imbalance as well. It could also be vitamin deficiencies. And when it comes to hair, lots of B vitamins are involved, as well as some minerals and things like that. So I'm sorry, I can't give you a quick fix answer, but I hope that this helps you figure out where you need to go next to find the answer for you. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you all have a fabulous week.